Hello everybody, welcome to Friday's edition of the Pritchard Cycling News Show. Listen, if you've not done already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live with our videos. And listen, the sign of a great man is when that great man can look in the mirror and realise he's made a mistake. And he can hold his hands up and say, do you know what? That probably wasn't the best idea. So from now on, from here on out, there will no longer be any spoilers. There will no longer be any titles or thumbnails that reveal the winner of the day's stage, whether that's the Giro, the Tour, or La Vuelta, or any race. Come to think of it. If there's drama, that will be spoiled. However, I will not spoil the race results for you any longer. For those that were offended, I apologise. I was simply chasing views. I was simply trying to fight the algorithm, trying to claw my way back into the YouTubing cycling world after I fear my popularity has dwindled. I sincerely apologise and hope that you forgive me and we can look forward to great news, live streams, various different videos coming from the Pritchard Cycling Hub community channel. Want to hear some news? Oh, Egan Bernal won today's stage. I'm kidding, I have no idea. To be fair, it's a flat stage. There's still 180 kilometres to go. Probably going to come down to a sprint. So if Egan Bernal did win it, that was pretty impressive to call that one out this early. Anyway, let's get on with the rest of the news and catch up with all the Giro details, as well as everything else that's happening in the cycling world. All right, first up in the news, and it's not a great story to start with. Thankfully, it does have a reasonably happy ending for the person involved, although I dare say they'll probably never recover from the trauma of it actually happening. Drink driver who ran over a 10-year-old cyclist is jailed. This is over on the Sussex Police website. Lord, give me strength. So a drink driver who ran over a 10-year-old cyclist, 10 years old, then drove home with the bike still trapped beneath him, has been jailed. So the 10-year-old lad had been cycling along with his dad and another adult when he was struck from behind by the black Renault. No, he wasn't struck by the black, he was struck by the absolute jeb end who was almost twice over the legal limit. The impact caused him to flip over his handlebars onto the road where the car continued to drive over him. The driver then reversed back over the boy, seriously injuring him, destroying his cycle helmet. Check that out. How this child survived, I will never know. That's who he is. Let's not call him a 10-year-old cyclist, let's call him what he is. He's a child. A drunk driver ran over a child. So the boy was taken to hospital and he sustained a broken collarbone, fractured vertebra, fractured pelvis, a dislocated hip and a burn to the left side of his face, but thankfully he is now recovering. I mean, mentally he's never going to recover from that though, is he? Absolute fucking prick. And this is him. What an absolute waste of... And I know, you shouldn't judge people, right? Because you don't know what kind of a life he's had. But sorry, mate. I don't give a shit. Any of that sympathy kind of went up in smoke when you ran over a child, then reversed over the child, then drove off. Get this. This is the best part of the story. He's been jailed for 2 years. 2 years he gets. Now this kid and his father and the guy that they were riding with is going to have to live with this forever. And he's going to have to live with it forever. But to be fair, he's 76, so you know what I'm saying? He ain't going to live with it for much longer. I mean, looking at the state of him, I'll be surprised if he makes it to 80. But could have killed that kid. That kid could be dead. That kid could have been my kid. That kid could have been you. That kid could have been me. Leave your comments down below about this one. Like, it's so sad to think that this kid went through all that trauma, has to live with all that trauma for the rest of his life, could have died all at the hands of an absolute waste on society. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And yeah, he might have had a horrible upbringing. You don't know his past. But regardless of somebody's past, you always have a choice in life. No one forced him to drink. No one forced him to get in that car. And for that, he had to take full responsibility and accept the full punishment that he deserves, which is, well, at his age, like, just send him to jail, boom, I've done with him. At least then we know there's one less dickhead out on the road. Next up in the news, let's move over to racing news now, and Trek Segafredo, the coffee maker, in news as co-title sponsor through to 2023. Segafredo commits another 2 years, extending the partnership which started in 2016. Great result for Trek Segafredo, making sure that they get that money in up until 2023. Obviously that extends across to the women's teams as well. Talking of women's cycling, the Women's World Tour rider salary has increased by 25% according to the UCI. 1 year after women's world teams were introduced, the governing body praises positive impact on women riders. Oosh! The UCI announced on Thursday that the average salary of pros in the women's world teams has increased by 25% from 2020 to 2021, as the organisation plans to increase the minimum salary to the same level as men's pro teams in the next few years. Bloody result. According to the governing body, the plan is to bring women's top tier teams in line with men's second tier squads because they are the most similar in terms of resources, structure and number of people employed. Cracking result if that could happen. It's always nice to hear that sponsors are continuing with their loyal support of teams. So Trek Segafredo, having Segafredo on board for another 2 years, where are we, 2020? 2 years is great for them. Obviously, like I said, that extends out to the women's team. And obviously the world women's teams have all had a pay increase of up to 25% across the board, which means they are coming more into line. Like they said, the UCI wanting to bring them in line with that second tier of men's racing. So hopefully we're starting to see some progress. Leave your comments down below about that one. Excited? Of course you are. Here's a question, right? If women's cycling across the board, obviously we don't have the let's say the heritage, the history yet, but with women's cycling, let's say we had across the board a World Tour women's what's the word I'm looking for? Division. Let's call it a division. You had Pro Conti and Conti level teams, and they were all getting paid similar or thereabouts the same as the men's. And the races were very similar in distance. They had the same races, i.e. La Vuelta, Tour de France, Giro. They had all the classics the same as the men's. I mean, it's growing and we're getting there. But let's just say, boom, 2022, everything's the same. Would you tune in and watch a 3-week women's stage race? Do you think the racing would be more exciting? Do you think it'd be more open? I don't know. I'd like to get your thoughts on it, because obviously we've got the Tour de France coming next year, but it's going to be a 8 or 9 day stage race. But what happens if we just flipped it up and the men's world calendar was given to the women's and they went boom? Be interesting to see what your views would be on it if you'd actually tune in and watch it, or you kind of, for whatever reason, you're kind of still a little bit dubious about women's racing. Women's racing is fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's brilliant. And once it's promoted more, and once it becomes the staple within viewing of cycling, I think we're onto a winner, and that's where the money will start rolling in for the women, and then we'll see it grow exponentially, which I'm very excited about. Leave your comments down below. Apart from you sexists out there, I don't want to hear from you. Don't want to hear from you today, all right? Not today. All right, and then before we head over to the Giro and catch up what's happening over there, over in Spain, obviously we've got the Vuelta a Burgos Femeninas. Leave those comments, Spanish-speaking people. How good did I do then? It's a 4-day stage race. Grace Brown took victory on the first stage. Second stage is taking place as I speak. I'll bring you the results of that probably Monday or Tuesday, and then the final 2 stages, well, we'll have all the results by then, won't we? And we'll know who's won it. But cracking ride from Grace Brown to take victory on first stage, putting herself into leader's jersey. Decent. Oi, let's move across now to the Giro d'Italia. Like I said at the start of the show, today is a flat stage. It's going to come down to a bunch sprint unless they let a big break go up the road. Currently, as I'm watching it, at 170 kilometers to go, 6 minutes and 46 seconds up the road is a breakaway of riders. It's not going to stay away, is it, at that time gap, at this distance? It's coming back. It's coming down to a bunch sprint. But who's going to take victory? Well, by the time you're watching this, you'll know who's taking victory. But let's talk about yesterday's stage and the stage previous to that. because yesterday's stage was won from the breakaway. It was Andrea Venderame for AG2R who beat Chris Hamilton into second place, and George Bennett, he was in fourth, and he and Gianluca Brambilla, they had a little bit of a dispute whilst out on the road. But yes, it was down to that breakaway that won the stage. None of the GC contenders were fighting for it. They were way down, almost 10 minutes down on the eventual winner. Vincenzo Nibali trying to take a few seconds back from Egan Bernal. But yeah, the majority of the GC contenders all came over in that group containing Egan Bernal. But let's talk about stage 11. Stage 11 was phenomenal. Stage 11 was Perugia to Montalcino, and it was the, let's call it the Strada Bianchi stage, the dirty stage. 4 sectors of gravel, and again, Egan Bernal coming to the fore, showing his form of 2019. He's looking dangerous, he's looking unstoppable, and I doubt, unless it was an act of God, ain't nothing stopping him going all the way to the end with that bloody Maglia Rosa. So with about 20 kilometres to go, this is when Egan Bernal just started turning up the wick. The only rider really to be able to stay with him was Vlasov, and he would just keep churning. One of the biggest casualties from the day obviously was Remco Evenepoel. He just had nothing in the tank. João Almeida had to drop back, pick him up and try and take him to the finish without killing him himself. João Almeida was a bit disappointed by the end of the stage. I think he felt like, even though he was 5 minutes down on GC, I think he felt like he could have done something. Emmanuel Buchmann, he went off on the attack. He tried to break away from the GC contenders, but it was Egan Bernal and Vlasov who were the last 2 GC contenders to be able to catch Buchmann. And once Egan Bernal caught Buchmann, it was a bit of a 2-up time trial to the line with just over a K to go. The sprint finish came down to UAE Team Emirates rider Alessandro Covi and Mauro Schmid. Schmid took the victory for Team Quebecer Assos. And then coming over the line, the main GC contenders, obviously Egan Bernal out-sprinted Emmanuel Buchmann to take additional seconds off of him and everybody else. So prior to the finish of stage 13, where, like I say, it's probably going to come down to a bunch sprint, so as long as everybody stays upright and everyone stays healthy and fit all the way to the end of this stage, Egan Bernal is going to continue to lead the overall GC at the Giro d'Italia, 45 seconds ahead of Alexander Vlasov. Damiano Caruso now is in 3rd place, Hugh Carthy in 4th, and Simon Yates in 5th. It's all to play for this weekend as the riders hit. Is that how you pronounce it? And there you have it, that's Friday's news. Cracking weekend coming up of racing. Make sure you stay tuned no matter where you're watching it. I'm not going to spoil it because tomorrow, like I say, is going to be a massive GC day. I want to get your predictions now as to what you think the GC is going to look like by the end of the weekend. Egan Bernal still going to be in the lead. Is he going to crack? Simon Yates going to come to the fore. We're going to see a rider from the bottom half of that top 10 coming through, smashing it to the front and putting some time in the rest of their rivals. Or are we going to see another Ineos domination? Who knows? Leave your comments down below about everything we spoke about. Be respectful, be kind, but also call out a dickhead when you need to call out a dickhead, even if that dickhead is this dickhead here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you've turned it off, because like I said, I'm not going to spoil anything ever again. Sorry. I love you. Please don't leave me. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Have an amazing weekend.